Mark Twain Selected Works. Extract from Chapter 35 and Chapter 36 of Roughing It, 1872. We took up various claims and commenced shafts and tunnels on them, but never finished any of them. We had to do a certain amount of work on each to hold it, else other parties could seize our property after the expiration of 10 days. We were always hunting up new claims and doing a little work on them and then waiting for a buyer, who never came. We never found any ore that would yield more than $50 a ton, and as the mills charged $50 a ton for working ore and extracting the silver, our pocket money melted steadily away and none returned to take its place. We lived in a little cabin and cooked for ourselves, and altogether it was a hard life, though a hopeful one, for we never ceased to expect fortune and a customer to burst upon us some day. At last, when flour reached $1 a pound and money could not be borrowed on the best security at less than 8% a month, I being without the security too, I abandoned mining and went to milling. That is to say, I went to work as a common laborer in a quartz mill at $10 a week and board. Chapter 36. I had already learned how hard and long and dismal a task it is to burrow down into the bowels of the earth and get out the coveted ore. And now I learned that the burrowing was only half the work, and that to get the silver out of the ore was the dreary and laborious other half of it. We had to turn out at 6 in the morning and keep at it till dark. This mill was a 6-stamp affair driven by steam. 6 tall, upright rods of iron as large as a man's ankle, and heavily shod with a mass of iron and steel at their lower ends, were framed together like a gate, and these rose and fell one after the other in a ponderous dance in an iron box called a battery. Each of these rods or stamps weighed 600 pounds. One of us stood by the battery all day long, breaking up masses of silver-bearing rock with a sledge and shoveling it into the battery. The ceaseless dance of the stamps pulverized the rock to powder, and the stream of water that trickled into the battery turned it to a creamy paste. The minutest particles were driven through a fine wire screen which fitted close around the battery, and were washed into great tubs warmed by superheated steam. Amalgamating pans, they are called. The process of amalgamation differed in the various mills, and this included changes in style of pans and other machinery, and a great diversity of opinion existed as to the best in use, but none of the methods employed involved the principle of milling ore without screening the tailings. Of all recreations in the world, screening tailings on a hot day with a long-handled shovel is the most undesirable. Assaying was a good business, and so some men engaged in it occasionally who were not strictly scientific and capable. One assayer got such rich results out of all specimens brought to him that in time he acquired almost a monopoly of the business. But like all men who achieve success, he became an object of envy and suspicion. The other assayers entered into a conspiracy against him and let some prominent citizens into the secret in order to show that they meant fairly. Then they broke a little fragment off a carpenter's grindstone and got a stranger to take it to the popular scientist and get it assayed. In the course of an hour, the result came, whereby it appeared that a ton of that rock would yield $1,184.40 in silver and $366.36 in gold. Due publication of the whole matter was made in the paper, and the popular assayer left town between 2 days. I will remark in passing that I only remained in the milling business 1 week. I told my employer I could not stay longer without an advance in my wages, that I liked quartz milling, indeed was infatuated with it, that I had never before grown so tenderly attached to an occupation in so short a time, that nothing, it seemed to me, gave such scope to intellectual activity as feeding a battery and screening tailings, and nothing so stimulated the moral attributes as retorting bullion and washing blankets. Still, I felt constrained to ask an increase of salary. He said he was paying me $10 a week and thought it a good round sum. How much did I want? I said about $400,000 a month, and board was about all I could reasonably ask, considering the hard times. I was ordered off the premises. And yet, when I look back to those days and call to mind the exceeding hardness of the labor I performed in that mill, I only regret that I did not ask him $700,000.